All things considered, it was a decent effort. You know, we were down to our second string play caller at one point. We were down to our third string quarterback. The team has nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing to get amped up and excited about. All of us at this point are talking about the future. All of those things considered, to only lose by 31, you know, it's a decent effort. Obviously, it's really hard for me to make videos after games now because it's not like I can talk about what the good and the bad was. As you guys have noticed, I mean, I don't know what week I started, but there was a week where I had to stop making breakdowns of what happened because it's come to the point where there's no explanation. There's no, this is what needs to be fixed and this is how we're going to get better. It just is what it is at this point. And so I do these live streams as more of a conversation to get through the rest of the day and get through the rest of this year together, because that's all we can really do at this point. Everything is looking to the future. So I will talk about a couple things from this game that I thought were interesting. Last week and the week before as well, Chubba Purdy's jaw was chattering. He was nervous. He couldn't settle himself. He could not complete passes. He could not run the ball. He was getting sacked like crazy. He did not look ready to play in games. And this week, the entire week actually, a lot of people were saying, I think I said it too, that Chubba needed to be benched for Logan Smothers and that Logan would probably give us a better opportunity to try and extend drives. I felt like going into this game, there was a chance that would happen. And then when Chubba Purdy, I saw that he, before the game, was taking snaps with the number ones, I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess that Mark Whipple really wants to pass the ball again. People want to say, well, we need to run the ball more, blah, blah, blah. We can't run. In the first quarter, I think they ran like 6 times for 12 yards or something, 2 yards a carry. It wasn't an option. Unfortunately, we can't pass either because our star receiver lost some juice. Trey had a play at the end where he caught a screen pass and just took a knee on accident. It's like he went a little bit too low for the ball and it was done. And then there were a couple drops by him. I think I saw 4 drops by Trey. Maybe it was 3, 4, somewhere in there. It's tough, man, when your best players don't give you an opportunity. Back on track with the quarterbacks. Chubba Purdy absolutely is the better quarterback for Nebraska in this offense right now. It's a fact. It was confirmed today. He played a lot better in the beginning. He was a smarter decision maker than we've seen this entire time. When I say entire time, I guess we're talking about Oklahoma, Minnesota, and Illinois. And it just feels like he was a little bit more comfortable. He used his legs a lot better. He was a lot more mobile. In the last couple of weeks, he would run into pressure. He didn't know how to use the pocket. It felt like he was stepping into the pocket a little bit more today. And even though, you know, it was just kind of an average effort, He's the backup quarterback. And the backup quarterback at Nebraska is equivalent to what, the fourth string anywhere else, the fifth string anywhere else? It's interesting. I was watching the Arkansas LSU game today. I bet on Arkansas. I'm a big Arkansas. That's my second favorite team. Big Arkansas fan. So Arkansas is down KJ Jefferson. Then they get to their second guy, and their second guy can't get it done. They move on to the third guy. Arkansas still keeps it within 3. He was able to throw, I think, a 40-yard touchdown pass to end up covering, and they lost to LSU, who's the number 7 team in the country, by 3 points. That's a 5-5 Arkansas team. Nebraska, if they had a quarterback who was as prepared as that, would easily be able to compete in all of these games. The Big Ten is not that strong. The Big Ten, 2 superpowers are. Michigan and Ohio State are really good, but everybody else is very mid. The point here is there's a quarterback named Chubba Purdy who's just decent enough to give us somewhat of a chance, I guess you can call it a chance on offense. And anyone behind him, Matt Masker, Logan Smothers, Heinrich Harburg, Richard Torres, is clearly severely behind. You looked at the Iowa game last year with Logan Smothers, and I don't know how much is his fault or how much it is just, he's not getting the right reps in practice. He had a bunch of miscues with his center. He had fumbles. I don't know if the right word's careless. He lacks focus, maybe is a better word for it. He drops the ball. It's something that Adrian had issues with as well. But the point is, we saw it again today. Chubba didn't look to have that many issues, right? He had issues with accuracy. He had issues in decision-making on how soon he should have released it, because he could have gotten it out a little bit quicker and maybe hit his receiver and had a better chance to convert. But Logan just didn't look prepared. He looked like what we've seen from Chubba these last couple weeks. So people got what they wanted. They wanted to see Logan get a chance. I personally wanted to see it. I did not want to see it after Chubba actually did well in the beginning of the game, though. So that actually did hurt us, and I feel like Nebraska at least not cost themselves, but Nebraska was hurt, and they weren't able to score another 7 points. I think they should have been able to. That 7 points would have been crucial, too, because I know a lot of people bet Nebraska plus 30.5. That final field goal really punishing. I got lucky. I got Nebraska at plus 31, so I pushed on that. But yeah, it was what it was. The defense played a lot better today. Garrett Nelson topped his sack total, I saw. So last year, I think he had 5 total sacks. Now he goes up to 5.5 or something. So congrats for Garrett. I thought he was going to get to double digits this year. Clearly not going to happen. Maybe he gets to 7 or 8. Regardless, none of this matters. Everything's about the future, unfortunately. Just kind of sucks. I made a video this week. It was one of my best performing videos in a while. It was about Deion Sanders, that rumor. And I've been kind of at a crossroads because I'm trying to grow this channel, right? I mean, this is how I make money during the football season. So I'm trying to figure out how to grow the channel, get your guys' attention, get you interested in all these games. And it's tough. And I understand. Who wants to come watch me talk about stuff that doesn't matter? I saw a comment the other day on the channel and someone said, hey, love your videos. I always support you. But I haven't been able to watch anything lately. And I get it, because what's the point? You're just asking for pain. And I'm going to get to chat in a second, guys. I know I see chat just scrolling. It's just been a really tough year. I am going to come to Lincoln next weekend, though. I went for the Oklahoma game this year. That one was rough. I am going to go for this Wisconsin game. I'm taking my mom, my sister, and one of my friends with me. So it should be a fun experience to hang out in really cold weather. Out in LA, it's 50 degrees, which I really enjoy, but getting to be somewhere where it's in the 30s should be nice. And just being around you guys, because I know there are a lot of people who want to link up. So I'm going to be on Twitter, Discord, Instagram. Message me anywhere, and you guys can try and connect with me. I know I'll do like a couple meetups. I'm going to try to figure that part out, especially with you guys, because we've been talking about that now for the last couple of months. But yeah, the point is everything is looking towards the future. I'm looking at my phones to see if I had any more notes from this game. Really, there's nothing. If we talk about these next couple weeks, we play Wisconsin. Okay, pause. I've made a bunch of comments as we've gone through these games this year in the Big Ten West. And the one consistent thing you'll hear me say, and some people try to call me out for it, usually not our fans, usually it's opposing fans, I say that the rest of the teams we're playing aren't very good, so we have a chance to beat every single one. And it's been a fact in every situation. Minnesota, Purdue, Illinois, until Casey got hurt, we've been in the game, right? None of those teams ended up faring very well. And today was another example of that. Illinois lost to Purdue. Purdue is not a good football team. They're an okay football team. Illinois is not a good football team. They're an okay football team. I had a lot of people try and tell me how good Illinois is, how great Purdue could be with their quarterback, and that Minnesota is one of the most consistent teams in the Big Ten, and all this BS. No, they're all average. None of them belong in the top 25. We don't either. Nebraska's the worst of them all, which is fine. This is temporary. Things are going to turn around next year. It just sucks that this year's been the worst year for the Big Ten West. Every single team we have played from our division sucks. S-U-C-K-S. No one is good, and we can't get one win. It hurts. Worst team in the Big Ten West? What? In the worst year for the Big Ten West? This is the equivalent to the Pac-12 South last year. Was it last year or the year before? One of these last couple of years, the Pac-12 South was the worst division in college football, in Power 5 football. Painful. Gonna get to chat, guys. Nathaniel, thank you for the $5 super chat. I'm totally with us keeping Mickey, but also we need to throw the bag at a coach like Deion Sanders to assist him. Yeah, I'm all in on getting a coach who can right the ship. I am 100% off the Mickey train. No offense to Mickey. Fantastic job with trying to rebuild back the culture. Fantastic job in recruiting. Fantastic receivers coach. Deserves to make the money he's making. Deserves a spot on this coaching staff. But we need a guy who can fix it. There is no more taking any risk. I watched that football game today, and it's just painful because I turned it on knowing that was the outcome, right? It's not like I turned it on and said, okay, maybe Nebraska can lose by 14, or maybe Nebraska can keep it close or get something tight in the first half. No. I turned it on knowing this is going to be a 31-point loss. I went to the USC-Colorado game last night. Colorado sucks. You guys know that. Colorado's been down bad for the last 3 years. They fired their coach, Carl Durrell. They are not good. They played against USC last night. My dad and I are standing outside the stadium, and he said, well, this game's going to be a blowout, so what are you going to do? You going to bet on Colorado plus 35 or USC minus 35? And I was like, geez, then we got to take Colorado plus 35. In no world would we ever bet that game on a normal day because neither of us care about Colorado. We don't care about a blowout at USC. It was just because we had to bet something to keep our interest. Because if we sat there, at halftime, the game, it was a 20-point lead for USC. What are we going to do? Sit there and just watch that? That's not fun. It's boring. USC fans stand up, slap each other's hands, whatever. But it's not a game. It's not competitive. You actually have to bet on it to keep your interest. That's what watching this was today. I was like, can Nebraska cover the spread? Because honestly, it's hard to get motivated to watch that Nebraska football team right now. We know what the outcome is going to be. Just a thought. Thanks, Nathaniel, for the $5. Jonathan, thank you for the $2. Bring Bo Pelini back. Couldn't hurt. Bo Pelini will never come back. As a joke, yeah, funny. I like it. Great idea. Bo Pelini would never come back to Nebraska. Nebraska would never have him back. That ship has sailed, but it would be interesting. I would love to get an interview with Bo Pelini and talk to him about what's gone on since Nebraska got rid of him. I feel like he'd have some funny comments about it, but who knows? I know he did an interview with Will Compton last year. I watched that one back then, but I don't remember what he said. Should go back and check it out. Jackson, thank you for the $10 super chat. If Matt Rule or Deion come to Lincoln, I hope Mickey can stay to help with recruiting and developing players. I think there's a really good chance that he would. You've got to realize a lot of the candidates that Trev Alberts is looking at, that we assume, we don't know what he's doing. None of us know shit. None of Football Scoop knows anything. Sean Callahan apparently doesn't know anything. The people who are closest to Trev are the only ones who know, and they're not leaking it. So let's assume he's not talking to anyone who's linked to Nebraska or who has relationships in Nebraska with any of the coaches, the high school coaches or boosters or anything, right? A guy comes in. It would be fantastic to be able to have a coach like Mickey Joseph, who already understands the culture, who already has ties to all of these players and can keep the recruiting class. It'd be great to keep him on your staff. On top of that, it's a great guy who has proven development skills. He's turned out multiple NFL receivers. We've talked about this a bunch of times. Anyway, I think Matt Rule or Deion or whoever it would be would really like to keep Mickey. That's just a guess. I could be wrong. But all signs point to Mickey Joseph is one of the top assistants in the entire country. And I'd be more worried about him leaving than I would be about a coach wanting him to stay. I'd be more worried about Nebraska not wanting to give him the money he deserves, which could very well be $900,000 a year. What Mark Whipple made this year, he could demand coordinator pay. If you look at some of the assistants at Kentucky and some of these other big schools, they get a lot of money as assistants, way more than Nebraska's ever paid. And clearly, Nebraska needs to up their assistant pool if they want to be competitive, because Nebraska has not paid assistants enough money, and they have had shitty assistants for how long has it been? The entire Scott Frost era. Before Scott Frost, you had a couple good coaches on that Mike Riley staff. It's been a mixed bag. We need to get really good assistants in here. I hope the new head coach understands that no matter what. Garrison, thank you for the $5 super chat. If I see a comment from you, I'm going to answer that. Nebraska Edits, thank you for the $2. You said bring Dion in. I think we're all on board with Dion at this point. He would bring on super positive energy, and it sounds like he would get this team under control rather quickly. Guys would love to play for him. I think there's a lot of benefits to him. Who knows if it's possible? Who knows if it's real? I do believe, you guys, if you didn't watch my video yesterday, I made an entire reaction to Zach Smith's rumor report where he came out and said a coach from an HBCU called him and said Dion called him about being a coordinator for him. So I am inclined to believe what Zach said because Zach has never been a clickbaiter. Zach has never been a guy who wants to leak info like that to try and get clout. If you go back and look at all his videos, all he does is trash media people who do that or losers on Twitter who do that. So I tend to believe what he has to say. So maybe someone's lying to him. Maybe there's no truth to it. But I do think where there's smoke, there's fire. And I'm going to guess that Nebraska's, what do you call it? Their agency, the agency that's going and searching for coaches, that they probably reached out to Dion's people, at the very least. Who knows from there, but I'm sure that they reached out to his people. If you haven't checked that out yet, go watch that video. It's pretty good. I break down why Dion would be good at Nebraska. Evan, thank you for the $5 super chat. Wasn't able to watch this one as much. I was working today. Don't worry, you didn't miss much. Seems like I didn't miss much. Yeah. And what's more likely for the final 2 weeks? 2-0, 1-1, or 0-2? You know, the most likely scenario here is 0-2. If we get Casey Thompson back, which at this point I don't feel is very likely, there's just something in my gut telling me he's done. If we were to get Casey back, I think we have a chance at Wisconsin. Wisconsin, let's see what's going on there. They were down to Iowa. They did. They lost by 14 to Iowa. It was at Iowa. But my guess is Nebraska would have a chance against them. They're not a very good football team either. With Casey. Without Casey, I think we're 0-2. But with him, Wisconsin, good chance. Iowa, we always play tough, and Iowa's just bad enough to give us a chance. So, again, with Casey, I think we have a chance at Iowa. I would be shocked, stunned, just amazed if we were able to beat both of those teams with Casey. If we were able to beat one of those teams without him, yeah, I'd be, wow, mind blown. I don't know how I'd be able to describe that feeling because I just don't think it's realistic. So, expect 0-2, hope for 1-1, and in a dream fantasy land, 2-0 with Casey Thompson. Thanks, Evan, for the super chat. Let me get back in here, guys. Memphis says, other than recruiting, what good would Dion bring? Dion's got his players super disciplined. He's a culture guy. He gets them all locked in and focused. He wants to build better men. He's not as focused on the football thing as he is focused on building leaders and men who want to be, positive guys in their community. If you watch a lot of videos that he does, not that he does, there's videos that people make of him speaking, right? The football program will make them. He is a culture coach, right? He knows how to get guys to buy into what he's doing, and it's more than just we need to win football games. It's we need to be elite in all aspects of our lives. One of the points I talked about in my video yesterday is that Deion Sanders is a winner, and there are very few people like him that exist on the planet. Some people are born to win. They're born to succeed. Anything they do, they will be successful at. They have extreme habits, right? They're willing to cut out all other BS in their life to make sure that they're focused, hyper-focused on being the best and doing the best that they can at whatever focus they have, right? Deion Sanders just so happened to choose football, and Deion Sanders has been elite at every level of football he's ever been a part of. He was a coach for Marquise Buford Jr. and Maurice Washington over at Trinity High School in Texas. He was an offensive coordinator. He ends up as a head coach at Jackson State with no college football coaching experience immediately after that job. Immediately turns them into a winner. He's a program builder. They were garbage. Took them from being garbage to being a good football team. His kids are elite. So everything that he touches turns to gold. Let's just put it that way. And when you have a guy like that running around your program, what do you think is going to happen? Positive results. I hang out with people who are 10 times better than me, who are 10 times smarter than me, who are richer than me, who always bring me value in my life, right? And if you hang out with people like that, eventually you become one of them. I think that's one of those quotes, right? Deion gives me that energy. If we brought Deion in, this program would automatically get elevated because we're around his successful mindset, his positivity, and his positive habits. The players would obviously end up resulting like him. So that's my thought on Deion. Cambridge says, curious, Corn Crazed, for you, when did the momentum turn in Michigan's favor tonight? Oh, I don't remember what point of the game. probably when Chuba went out, because Nebraska felt like they were in the game until Chuba went out. Actually, that was the moment because Chuba had Nebraska driving in position to score a touchdown. I think they would have actually scored on that drive, and then Logan came in and couldn't get it done. Obviously, a tough position for Logan, but I don't think Logan's as good of a quarterback as Chuba. Just overall, he's not. He's not as good of a passer, and when you're not as good of a passer, that hurts everything else. People want to talk about, well, we need to run the ball, we need to give it to Logan, run it straight up the middle, blah, blah, blah. No. All we're going to do is run it for 2 yards of carry, just like we saw for the majority of the day. You have to be able to pass to establish the run. It's a fact. Unless you have elite offensive linemen, elite running backs, and an elite run scheme like Michigan does, or like Wisconsin and Iowa have had in the past. Neither of those teams have that right now. It's unrealistic to expect that of Logan Smothers. Getting back to chat, guys. Tater, thank you for the $5. First quarter, I really thought it wasn't going to be a bloodbath, but still not 100% on the MJ train. Dude got handed a shit show. Always GBR. Yeah, it's not Mickey's fault, right? And a lot of people say you can't blame Mickey for this situation. Of course you can't. But you can't credit him too much either. A lot of people want to say, well, he deserves a chance. Why? Look at Mickey Joseph's resume and tell me why he deserves a chance to be the head coach at a Tier 2 school like Nebraska, who has the ability to pay a coach $7.5 to $12 million a year. Why does that resume take his face off it, take his name off of it? Don't get emotional with it. Why does his resume say he belongs as the head coach of a place like Nebraska? It doesn't. It does not, unfortunately. So yeah, it's not Mickey's fault, and I don't hold anything against him. But I see a lot of comments about like, oh, why not give him a chance? Like, come on, we are a program in dire straits. We are on our last straw. We are, all of us, I can say collectively, not all, but a strong majority, because I read DMs, I get a lot of them. A large majority is over this. They are done. If Nebraska wins 3 games next year again, and they look sloppy, and they have a coach who isn't proven, they are done. If Nebraska went and hired another Mike Riley, the sellout streak is over. Fans will give him a chance. I promise you this. Mike Riley level coach comes in. Fans show up to the spring game. Fans show up to the spring game. Fans show up to the first game. People get excited. All right, we're tentative. We don't know if this is going to happen. But let's see. We all pay attention for the first 5 minutes. And as soon as things don't work out, everyone checks out. We're all off the train. We're all done, just like we are this year. And not all of us are done this year. Some of us still have hope. Some of us still watch the games. We hit 15,000 subscribers the other day, which is a big accomplishment, just so you guys know. There's not a lot of college football channels on YouTube with this strong of a YouTube following. It's incredible. So shout out you guys. Thank you very much for all the support. The point is, people are checked out. You can see in my YouTube views, half the people who were engaged in the beginning of the year aren't engaged anymore. If we hire a bad coach and he fails and screws things up even more and sets us back further, the other half who have been paying attention, waiting and hoping something would change, they're all checked out too. That's when our stadium starts to look like USC Stadium. Or whoever, I don't even know what the comparable in the Big Ten is, Maryland Stadium. That's when I have to stop doing this content. That's when I have to check out and say, okay, I'm going to all college football, or I'm going to pick a winning team. It sucks. So that's where we're at. And yeah. So it is what it is. Getting back to chat, guys. Tyler says the real question is, when do we find out who the coach is? Does Trev already know? How long will he let us suffer? We will not find out who the coach is until after the Iowa game. So what's that? November 26th. So we're 2 weeks away. About 2 weeks away. And we'll know that Saturday because they got to get one in to make sure that they can get on the recruiting trail, to make sure they can hit the portal hard, to make sure they can build out their staff. They got to make sure that everything's going to be lined up properly in time for that December, I don't remember what the exact date is, but the mid-December signing date for the recruits. So we'll know by then, but we won't know any sooner unless something happens and things get leaked to the media. But I find that extremely unlikely. The most likely scenario is the coach that Trev wants is coaching at another school right now, so that won't get leaked. So we'll see. Tater, thank you for the $2. Everyone with a resume has failed so far. Hail Mary. Yeah, everyone with the resume has failed so far. But let's look at the resumes. Scott Frost had a decent one coming off Oregon, but he didn't have any head coach experience as a Power 5 guy, right? That was a tough one. Then you had Mike Riley, who had a bunch of experience as a Power 5 head coach, but he had no big-time wins. He didn't do anything that showed that he was a step above anybody else in the country. That was a weird hire. Bo Pelini had a lot of experience as a defensive coordinator, but no other experience to say that, you know, he was ready to lead another big-time program. They gave him a chance at the job. He was coming off a national championship as a defensive coordinator, and he somehow proved that he was ready to roll. And he turned Nebraska into a 9-10 win team consistently. So it's interesting when you talk about who had the proven resume. Nebraska hasn't gone off. I guess Bill Callahan was a former former NFL head coach. But Nebraska typically hasn't gone for the big name on the resume. They normally are going with who they think is a fit. So I'll be interested to see what Trev looks for in the resume department. Who knows? Brad says, and Brad, thank you for the $2. Jackson State versus Nebraska right now. Who wins? Jackson State would probably win. Jackson State has a serious culture, and they know how to win football games. That's one of the keys to winning games, right? They're a Division I AA school, so they're the equivalent to North Dakota State, Montana State. Those top 10 FCS schools would all beat Nebraska today, no problem. On Nebraska's best day, fully healthy, I think they would be super competitive and could beat any of those teams, even right now. But they'd have to be on their best, and they'd have to all be healthy. They have to all be locked in, and Nebraska's not at that point right now. Not at that point this season, at least. So, yep, we would definitely lose to Jackson State. It is what it is. Owen says, come on, Connor, we would hire MJ before another Mike Riley type of hire. I would hope so, but I would hope we don't hire either, just to keep it real. That's just my thought. So I hope we hire someone who's a little bit more proven. Again, I don't know who the right fit is, and neither does Trev. And neither do you. It's just a total hope, right? All of these are hopes. We're just hoping that we pick the guy who has the most credibility, because then at least we can say, well, Trev, you made a good decision. Kind of like the Scott Frost thing. None of us would have said back when Scott Frost got hired that was the wrong hire. And I mean, you still can't say today that was the wrong hire. In hindsight, of course, it's the wrong hire. But you can't look at it at that point, right? So I'd rather get the right hire and be wrong about it than get the wrong hire and be wrong about it. Think back to when Mike Riley got fired. That was what? 2017. It was 6 years ago, 5 years ago, something like that. When he got fired, I was so pissed off leading up to him getting fired, because I was screaming at the top of my lungs, this guy should have never gotten the opportunity anyway. It made me that more pissed off that he was ever even in the position to get this coaching job. There were a dozen other guys who should have gotten it, and he's the one who got it. It made zero sense. Maybe no one wanted the Nebraska job. Maybe that's the truth, and they just wanted to hide it from us and make us think, oh no, Nebraska's still a blue blood. And they settled on trash. Here's the situation now, currently. Scott Frost gets fired. I'm upset that it didn't work out. But I'm not pissed off that they hired Scott Frost. I'm pissed off that it didn't work out, right? Think of it that way. So how would I feel now if they went and did the exact same thing and hired a Mike Riley level guy again, and then we get to 2025 and I'm 33 years old, like we just went through this shit 3 years ago or 8 years ago. What are we doing? Yeah, that's the risk you run. Catherine says, do you think Trev was really looking at Bill O'Brien from Alabama? I think Trev looked everywhere. I think Trev called Nick Saban. I think he called Dabo Swinney, and he probably called Jim Harbaugh and Ryan Day and some of the other big-name coaches. He wants to get a gauge for who would be the right fit. And I'm not sure Trev has talked to a lot of these coaches individually, but Trev has talked to everybody's agents, or at least the representation for Nebraska in this coaching search has reached out to all of these coaches, or has reached out to all of their agents to gauge their interest. So Trev has a little notebook, let's say, and he says, okay, this one would be interested, check. This one wouldn't, X. This one would, check. I'm sure Bill O'Brien would be interested. Bill O'Brien's done after this year at Alabama. Did Alabama win today? Alabama was on the verge of not winning. Let's see. Alabama won by 6 at Ole Miss. Wow, lucky. But Bill O'Brien's still not a very good offensive coordinator in comparison to some of the others who Alabama's had over the last few years. And you can make all the excuses you want for him. That guy is not Nebraska's next head coach. I pray. Who knows? We'll see. Mickey has made this team play worse than under Frost somehow. I don't want to do that. That's not true. Mickey has done everything he can to salvage this season. Scott Frost was still the head coach. He still has a ton of great experience as an offensive play caller. And as we saw last year, Scott Frost made that offense run. They were a top 20 offense at one point, a top 10 offense going into the Ohio State game last year, which was a November game, I think like November 5th, November 10th, somewhere in there. So Scott Frost was a good football coach in the offensive mindset regard, okay? When we lost Scott Frost, this team lost a major piece. We also lost a piece that was holding us back, right? But when you lose a major piece that was helping us succeed, what did you expect? Think of it that way. We also lost Shenander, and we're now working with analysts and assistant coaching staff who have never been in this big of a position before, or at least haven't been in this position in years, and they've been, I don't want to use the word demoted, but they've essentially been demoted because they're taking jobs that are lower than they held before. So, no, I don't think it's Mickey Joseph holding this team back. I just think it's the circumstances of firing a bunch of your coaching staff and having to hit system reset. It is what it is. We were hoping Mickey could win games, but the fact that Mickey doesn't win games isn't something we can hold against him. Think of it that way. Plus all of the injuries. I mean, we're down now. We're depleted. Phelan Sanford's a walk-on. He's playing safety. I mean, we've got walk-ons playing safety in Big Ten football games. Keeping it real. Brandon says, the last couple weeks, I feel like I've spilled all the Kool-Aid on these rumored coaches. I feel almost a state of depressed. Yeah, I wouldn't get too worked up. There's going to be a lot of names thrown around and people are going to get all hyped up on XYZ, but we don't know what's actually happening. We know nothing. There are a bunch of coaches who've been reached out to and no one's leaking the actual ones. I'm sure there is truth to some of the rumors that maybe what's his freaking name? Matt Rule could be a candidate. Maybe Deion Sanders could be a candidate. Maybe Lance Leipold or Chris Kleiman. But we don't know how true or how realistic any of those are. We know that all of those coaches would probably be interested in the job for sure. But Trev can only pick one. We also don't know what other schools are going to call. Because schools are firing coaches every day now. We're getting towards the end of the season. There's going to be a lot of job openings. So who knows who's going to call who? Auburn might call Deion. Auburn might call Matt Rule. I mean, they're not going to call Matt Rule, but Lane Kiffin, for example, is another name that I'm sure has been reached out to just to gauge interest. Who knows where he ends up? I mean, I think we all know he's going to Auburn. But the point is, we know nothing, and we're not going to know anything. So don't get too worked up. Don't get too upset. Don't get too down. There is a brighter day ahead, I hope. And if I'm wrong, man, if I'm wrong and it's a Mike Riley type hire, it sucks for both of us, man. I will say that. Brandon, it sucks for both of us. I just have higher hopes than that. I do believe in Trev Alberts. I think he has a little bit of us in him. He's a fan, right? Like we are. He wants to see this program get built back up. He's seen the mistakes that were made by the previous administration, just like we saw, and he's trying not to duplicate those mistakes. He wants to make sure that he does what is right by this university and what is right by the fans. So think of it that way. Trenton says this is a down year for coaches. You know, Trenton, it's interesting. It's actually not ever a down year for coaches. And we learned last year in 2021 that it's never a down year because every coach is available for the right price and the right opportunity. Brian Kelly was at Notre Dame, a blue blood, a recent playoff contender, recent 4 and 5 stars at his school. And the guy said, I'm out. There's a better opportunity down south for me. Lincoln Riley at OU, playoff contender, multiple Heisman winners, had it made. I'm out for the right opportunity. The right opportunity can sway any coach in America. Maybe it can't sway Nick Saban, but every other coach, to some degree, is up for grabs. So there's never a year for down coaches. Suno says, hard disagree on Trev, total legacy hire, lazy and spoiled. I have not seen anything that made me believe he was lazy or spoiled. Everything he's said, everything he's done has been positive. It's made me believe in him more. He has a track record of success ever since he got to Nebraska, and he's proving it. Everything he does, every decision he makes has been good so far. So if you can outline what the issues are with Trev Alberts, let me know. I'd love to hear them. I don't have any complaints or negative thoughts about him. I'm a big Trev Alberts fan. Best AD we've had in years. This is comedy. Brian says Nebraska's the worst job in the country. We suck. I don't know what to say to that, Brian. That's just funny to me, so I'm pulling it up. But that's false by a long shot. False by a lot. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna get out of here because I'm gonna go watch more football. But I just wanted to get on and talk to you guys for a minute about the game, give you guys some of my thoughts. If you didn't hear my thoughts, I'm going to post this up right now, and you can go back to the beginning of this video and watch what I think about the Michigan game. And we talked a little bit about coaching as well. So thank you guys all for being here. I've got a couple more videos this week coming out, and then I'm going to go to Omaha on Thursday with my family, and I'm going to be on Twitter, Discord, and Instagram trying to communicate with everybody and planning out some meetups. So I'm excited to meet some of you guys for the Wisconsin game. That should be a really good time. Win or lose, it is what it is. But until then, I'm going to go get on here and check out some more football games for the night because you guys know I'm a huge college football fan. So I'm going to enjoy this day for what it is, win or lose. But with all that, thanks for being here, and I'll talk to you guys later. Go Big Red.